an infamous disease throughout history, a deadly bacteria which infects domestic livestock and humans. For years, it has been used and perfected as a biological weapon. This disease is known as anthrax. It has been locked away and lay dormant for years, trapped beneath the Siberian permafrost. But now, recent climate change has disrupted this shield of ice, and now the bacteria may pose a threat once again. At first glance, this field of livestock is a peaceful sight. The cattle seem to be healthy and calm. However, take a closer look inside the soil, and you might find a more sinister surprise. According to the CDC, the anthrax reproduction cycle begins within the soil, infected water, or plants. The bacteria produce spores which lay dormant for months, if not years, until a suitable host ingests the spores. Once within the host, the spores are activated as there's plenty of nutrients within the animal to begin multiplying. Once this happens, the spores produce toxins, causing the animal to become severely ill and ultimately leading to its demise. The carcass of the diseased animal can spread bacteria back into the soil or infect other animals which come into contact with the decaying remains. But what about humans, you might ask? Humans can come into contact with anthrax through a number of ways: touching contaminated soil, drinking contaminated water, contact with animal hides, eating contaminated meat, inhalation, and recently, tainted needles. Anthrax is not typically contagious, unlike many types of bacterium. Only if a human comes into contact with infected blisters is there a mild risk. The National Institute of Health states there are 4 types of ways anthrax can infect the body: gastrointestinal, pulmonary, cutaneous, and injection. In the case of cutaneous, anthrax gets through an open wound or infects the skin, most commonly the neck, head, hands, or forearms. After 1 to 7 days after initial infection, the patient may experience itching blisters in the surrounding areas, swelling, a black ulcer, or bump. If left untreated, this can lead to death or further disruption of the infected body part. However, when treated, the odds of surviving are relatively high. This is the most common infection of anthrax and is the least deadly, with a survival rate of 80% untreated. Gastrointestinal anthrax infiltrates the body through undercooked or tainted meat. In this case, the bacteria spores may infect the stomach and the esophagus, as well as the intestines. After 1 to 7 days of exposure, the symptoms that follow are fever, chills, swelling of the neck or neck glands, sore throat, painful swallowing, hoarseness, nausea and vomiting, especially vomiting blood, diarrhea or bloody diarrhea, headache, flushing, and red eyes, stomach pain, fainting, and swelling of the abdomen. Gastrointestinal anthrax is much more elusive. However, the survival rate is much lower if left untreated. With treatment, the survival rate is slightly higher than 60%. Injection anthrax is a newly discovered form which spreads from heroin injection needles. This was discovered in heroin addicts in parts of Europe, and it affects a patient within 1 to 7 days. Many of the symptoms of cutaneous anthrax apply to injection anthrax. However, the spores can spread faster throughout the body and may go undetected. The survival rate is unknown as there have been so few cases. Inhalation anthrax is the most deadly, and it occurs when the spores are inhaled. The symptoms of inhalation anthrax are fever and chills, chest discomfort, shortness of breath, confusion or dizziness, cough, nausea, vomiting or stomach pains, headache, sweating, extreme tiredness, and body aches. Unlike other forms of anthrax, inhalation anthrax can take up to 2 months to show symptoms. Once inside the lungs, it infects the lymph nodes and quickly spreads throughout the body. Left untreated, survival rate is only 10 to 15%. Even with aggressive treatment, the survival rate is around 50%. Inhalation anthrax is fairly rare. However, it can lie dormant for years, making it the perfect weapon for biological warfare. Not every strain of anthrax starts off as a perfect sample for destruction. Many strains of anthrax are in fact not strong enough to cause more than mild discomfort. In order to create a strain powerful enough to become a weapon, it must be refined and reduced to the most dangerous level possible. According to Live Sciences, creating anthrax in a lab is surprisingly easy, and the bacteria is surprisingly durable. Because of this, anthrax has been used as a biological weapon dating back to World War I, where it was used by Scandinavia against imperialist Russian troops. In World War II, it was used by British soldiers to weaken German livestock. According to the National Institute of Health, anthrax was banned by the Biological Weapons and Toxins Convention in 1972. This treaty was signed by many countries. However, Iraq and the Soviet Union at the time continued to manufacture and experiment with anthrax. In more recent years, anthrax has been used by terrorist groups on the US and in Japan. Over the last 2 decades, global warming has dramatically increased the rate of melting ice in cold places. Inside the permafrost located in Siberia, for example, scientists have discovered frozen pathogens encased within the ice. They fear that these pathogens will be reintroduced to the surface after thousands of years of lying dormant. According to The Telegraph and the New Republic, anthrax has the ability to lie dormant for up to 2,500 years. In 2016, a massive heat wave caused by global warming hit Siberia. Deceased reindeer, which had been encased in ice, were now exposed to the surrounding surface. Russian herders, now exposed to these carcasses, began to be infected with anthrax. A 12-year-old boy died from anthrax due to coming in contact with a carcass that had been infected 100 years ago. The University of Florida's Emerging Pathogens Institute states that we may see a longer growing season in the northern habitat, so we may see those anthrax seasons become longer. This is not only a threat to herders who live off of reindeer for subsistence, but also a threat to those who excavate the area. Anthrax can somewhat be contained as there is a vaccine which herders can give to the reindeer. This may slow down the reemergence of anthrax and help to stop it from infecting much larger populations. Yet, scientists are still worried that anthrax could pose a threat to more than just Siberia, as it is commonly found all over the world, and the availability of the vaccine is limited. Anthrax is a zoonotic bacteria capable of killing livestock and humans within days of infection. It has been an old menace of the past, present, and now possesses a threat to the future. It can lie dormant for decades on carcasses and on soil, and spreads its spores through those which inhale, touch, or ingest them. In society today, diseases still pose a threat to humans, as they did hundreds of years ago, as seen with COVID-19 today. And with the increasing temperatures due to climate change, the world could be facing another global pandemic.